Howdy folks, it's Tejo the Hunting Gear Guy. This is the Huglu Renova SA. It's a semi-automatic, inertia-fired Turkish shotgun. This one's in 12 gauge and it's pretty nice. These are being brought into the US by CZ in the CZ 1012, 1012, 1012, I don't know, 1012, whatever. It's a pretty nice shotgun, so why don't we take a closer look. You saw that it was empty. Let me just check it. Okay, press that button, lock it to the rear. It'll only lock to the rear if it's empty from the tube and the chamber. So let's take a closer look at this thing. Now this thing comes with a lot of accessories. I'm going to try to show them as we go along. First up, the butt pad. It's got about a medium-sized butt pad on here. It doesn't have like a lot of cushion to it, a lot of cushion to the pushing, but it comes with two others. So if you want a thinner one, they've got this thinner butt pad, or if you want the thick boy, there you've got it. There's not a lot more padding to this thing. There's not a lot of padding to this shotgun, so doesn't have a very squishy like a limb save or anything like that to the butt pad, but that's okay. Heading on to the stock, I found that this comb was just a little bit thin. And when I fired, it was just a little bit sharp on my cheek here. You might find otherwise. Some people like a thinner stock like this. Personally, I found it just hit my cheek just a little bit hard as it recoiled, kind of a thing. One of the weirder things on this shotgun is the checkering, or stippling, I guess you'd call it, because it's not really checkering. It looks like it's hand done. I don't know if it is actually hand done, or if they like made a mold and then like melted it on here, but this kind of looks like what you'd do at home with a soldering iron and a tip and a couple of hours and maybe a couple of brewskis. Is stipple the heck out of it. It does provide some pretty good grip. It's not sharp like some stippling is. Sometimes you'll get like some peaks that'll be really pokey, but this one is not sharp like that. It just gives you really decent grip. Heading up to the shotgun. Now, right here at that join, you see that piece of plastic in here. That's actually where the shims go. And this comes with a set of different shims. And what those are designed to do is you can fit the shotgun to yourself. So you can change it so the shotgun either points up or down a little bit more, or left or right a little bit more. That's the drop and cast, and these shims will help you to do that, to, again, fit it to where it wants to shoot naturally for you. I found, just shooting this thing from the factory just like this, that it hit a little bit low for me. So when I pull the shotgun up and I put it where I want to shoot, I found that the pellets hit a little bit low. My buddy who was shooting it didn't have any problems at all. So this is, again, where fit is going to make a difference. And on a decent shotgun, it'll come with these kinds of things, and you'll be able to fit it to yourself. So that's that back part there. Moving up forward, we have a crossbolt safety, which is pretty standard for shotguns these days. As you can see there, red is dead, and then there is our safety on. It's very clicky, and there's not really a great way of doing it quietly. But most time, if you're duck or geese hunting, you're not really concerned too much about noise. You're concerned about movement and that kind of thing. So that's okay. I showed you that bolt hold open right there. Our bolt drop is right here. That's going to drop our bolt. This is actually a rocker style, so you can see I can push on the back there. And what that'll do is that'll allow me to release shells from the tube into the lifter, which, I mean, doesn't sound that useful, but let's say you just finished shooting and now you want to unload it. Well, I've got dummy rounds here. Let me just show you how easy that can be. You push that, you push it at the back here, and you can take them out one by one without having to rack them out and that kind of thing. So very handy, that button. So press at the back to do that, press at the front to release the bolt. If I want to lock the bolt to the rear and it's empty, I can press this button right here and then pull it back. Now, if there's a round in the tube and I try pressing that button, what it's going to do instead is put that shell onto the lifter. You can see it there. And then I'm going to have to pull it back and let the shell out. So that's, if you've fired semi-automatic shotguns before, this is not news. I'm doing this for the people who maybe haven't shot one of these before and are trying to figure out what all these weird buttons are doing here. So anyways, that's what that's doing. Along the bottom here, we have a forked lifter there. I found that the shell retention latch on mine, which is a little bit stiff, which could be worked in after a while. I got about 150 rounds through this thing. Not an extensive test here just yet, but enough to say I like it. It was very reliable when I took it out to shoot, and I like it for that aspect. It's nice to have a reliable shotgun, right? And part of the reason why this is a reliable shotgun is that it uses an inertial system. Benelli had a patent on this for a long time, but their patent expired, and now everyone and their dog is making an inertia-style shotgun, which are cleaner shooting than a gas piston kind of style, and have a couple of other advantages. Moving along, so we've got a little bit of a raised receiver here, and this rib is just a little bit down, actually. So when you aim down it, I just see this here, this bit here. I don't actually see that rib going down, so it's not quite flush. Right down at the end, we have a fiber optic front. It's not a very big one, but big enough. I found it was fine. That same stippling is happening on the fore end here. And then we have a nicely knurled little magazine tube cap on there. It does come with interchangeable chokes, and I believe these are using, like most of these Turk shotguns use mobile chokes. Let's just take a look. I'll give you a nice little kit here. Nice little choke kit. And it is a little bit longer than usual. There's our choke there. And you get a set of 5. So there's 1 in the gun, and then there's 4 out here. And to tell which one you got, you just look at the little strikes on there to see how many strikes there are. Fewer strikes is more choke, so a 1 strike, like a 1 of those little notches in there will be a full. There's my full choke right there. And they give you a fairly decent choke tool. I really don't like the little, the flat metal key ones. This one's round, and it's going to give you good purchase in there. And it's going to make it very easy to pull those chokes out. That's enough of me yammering. I want to watch some range shooting footage here. Go.
Got it in there?
1 shell left, maybe? Oh. Oh, that was embarrassing. I don't know why I can't. Missing high a bit.
Got a piece of that one.
What's that?
You got a piece of that one.
Piece of that one? I find it's hitting low for me. Yeah. As you can see, really reliable, worked pretty much every time. Out of the 150 shells, I had 1 stoppage where it failed to send the shell out onto the lifter, and that's it. With no oiling, I took it out from the factory and just took it out and took it shooting, and it just worked. So that was a good thing. I feel like that was really nice. Why don't we go ahead and take this thing apart just so you can see how it's made. So we're going to unscrew this guy here. If you're going to disassemble one of these shotguns, make sure it's empty first. You already saw me empty this thing. There we go. See a little spring on there. That's going to give us a little bit of tension when it's going on. Funny thing about, so you're not going to be able to put an extension tube on this thing because it's not the way it's designed. But you see this right there. That's actually your plug for duck hunting or waterfowl hunting. So when this is in there, that's only going to hold 2 in the tube, 1 in the chamber, so a total of 3. You can pull it out and your tube will hold 4 rounds instead. Now that we have that cap off, we're going to have to pull this bolt back so it unlocks from the barrel, and then we can pull all of it right off the front there. Our barrel and fore end, oh boy, that comes apart really quick. Our barrel and fore end, there's nothing holding them together now anymore, right? There's our fore end. It's got a little detent right there. That's going to be acting against the grooves on this guy here. So that's how it holds in. And then there's our barrel. You can see the choke there. And you can see I've fired this a bit, so it's a little bit dirty here, but this should clean up pretty easily. Yep. Yeah, cleans up pretty easily. Are you going to help me with this shotgun review? Do you know how to disassemble this thing? All right, next let's pull this bolt out of here. Why not, right? So this is actually pretty easy. We're just going to push the bolt down a little bit, pull the charging handle out, and then just pull the bolt out the front. You can see this this little leg down here. That's actually acting on the recoil spring, and the recoil spring is inside the stock. There's actually a little like dimple at the back here, inside there, and that's pushing against that recoil spring that's built in there. I'm just going to clean this a little bit before I continue on. Cleaning this thing is pretty quick because there's no gas really that's happening back here, right? When this thing fires, the gas and the shot goes out. There's nothing coming back in. When it fires, it's actually acting against a spring. So it'll kind of recoil a little bit. There's a spring in there. It'll be locked up. It'll push on that spring as it recoils, and then as soon as it's done recoiling, that little spring wants to shoot this thing to the back. It can't go forwards because it's already locked into the bolt, so it'll shoot this back, and it's actually a pretty simple system. It's pretty ingenious how they make it work. And this bolt cleans really, really nicely because it's so nice and shiny. Why don't we go ahead and take it apart? Okay, we're down on the block here to take this out. So we want to take out that top pin there. That's going to hold the firing pin. So I'm taking it out from the left side to the right side. Just using a little block here. Out she comes. And there's the pin. And I've just got this in here. This firing pin's going to want to come out. So I'm just going to press it a little bit. Pull my drift out. There's my firing pin and spring. And that was what was holding this guy right in here, this cam pin. So that cam pin should come out. Don't make me a liar, me. There we go. There's the cam pin. And then there's the bolt coming out as well. So pretty easy. And behind the bolt, there's that spring I was talking about, that inertia spring. Big beefy guy here. It just needs to compress just a little bit on recoil to give all of this mechanism its action. So kind of cool. Now next, to take out the trigger mechanism, we're gonna have to pop this guy out. Just gonna put my drift on there. Pretty tight. Okay, now that that pin is out, I can just pull this whole trigger mechanism out. And that's really all you'd need to disassemble. I wouldn't even disassemble this much. You shouldn't have to disassemble this shotgun a lot because, again, it's pretty clean firing. Maybe if you dunk it in some water or something like that, make sure you get all the water off of some of the steel parts here. But all in all, this shouldn't require that much to get back up and running. To reassemble, we've got a little bit of a kind of a ledge here, and I need to hook that on the inside of this receiver here. So I'm just going to put that in there until I feel like I'm there. And next I'm going to have to, there's a little doohickey right there. I'm going to pull out of the way as I push this all in. Come on. And I'm not quite at the back. There I go. And now I can see through that hole. So I know that that's clear, and I can put that pin back in. If you feel like you're hitting something, just stop, look at it from the other side, readjust. There we go. Trigger mechanism is back in, and I'm not hitting anything, which I shouldn't be, right? Next up, let's reassemble the bolt. Now, there's a couple places I'm going to put some grease on here. This cam surface right here is where this is going to engage with some parts. So I'm just going to throw a little bit of grease on there and just kind of rub it in. And just on the back of the bolt here, just on the tail where it's going to engage. And then inside this hole here, that's going to engage against the cam pin. Give that a little bit of grease. Put that aside. My cam pin, definitely going to need to grease that because this is really going to see the most stress of any of the parts on this firearm. So just going to make sure it's greased up so that it can take that rotating of the action. The spring doesn't need to be greased. I'm not going to grease it. I don't want it to attract any dirt. And I go spring, and then I go bolt. There's my extractor. I want that to extract out the right side of the gun because that's where the hole is. So I'm going to put that extractor on the right side. And now I can see that pinhole there, the cam pinhole. So I'm going to put the cam pin in there. And handily, they've given me kind of like a direction. That's when this is flat that way, that means my firing pin can go in through the back. I've got my firing pin and spring. It goes in through the back. And if this is aligned, it'll allow me to put it in there. Now, there's nothing retaining this firing pin spring. I need that other pin. There it is. And I'm going to put it in through the right side of the bolt. It goes in pretty much the whole way. I just need to give it a little bit of the business to seat it the final distance. There we go, it's flush. And to function check, I can just make sure it moves, make sure the extractor moves. Feels like this bolt's ready to put back into the gun. Now, if I want this to operate nice and smooth, I could grease some of the surfaces that are going to, they're not going to really bear on anything. They're going to like glide on the gun, but there's not really a lot of like stuff in the receiver where this has got like a lot of pressure on it. So I'm just doing this to make it run a bit smoother, right? It's not really going to make that much difference, but it will in my heart. I'm going to hit on the bottom here where it's going to be riding along the hammer and that kind of thing. You could use it in oil if you prefer. I just prefer like a light grease on this kind of stuff just for longevity. All right, got her all greased up. I'm going to put it back in here. Now, the tricky part here is getting that tail to hit the little plunger at the back of here. So the trick is I want to actually put a little bit like this. Put it at a bit of an angle. That will make sure it's kind of like hanging down, and I'll want to push on there. Oh, I missed it. Let's see. Do I have to go down? There we go. Got a little bit straighter. I can push this bolt down, grab my charging handle, and put it in the hole where it belongs. Now the tail isn't resting on there, and it's not going to stay there. If I move this up, I might not be able to find it. So I just want to keep that there tentatively. Next, I'm going to take my forend and barrel, and my barrel goes inside the forend like that. So this little lug goes on the inside of that guy there, not on the outside. On the outside, it won't work at all. And I'm going to take that over top. As it gets to the back here, I'm going to need to pull that bolt back. Oh, look at that. See? I'm not on. There we go. Now I've got that on there. And it kind of pushes on. And I should be able to lock it in place. And that's just going to make it easier for me to screw this guy on because now it's locked in place, right? Oh, make sure that, yes, my plug is still there. Hear that ratcheting? That's that little detent that we saw earlier. And that's just going to hold it on, make sure it doesn't come out under recoil. Make sure that your plastic pieces are all fit and you didn't muck around with the forend, and that's all good. And then do a function test on it, right? Click that, make sure that that goes back. You can drop it. Test your safety. Yes, safety did work properly. Trigger works properly. The shotgun's good to go. So should you get a Huglu Renova? I think that depends on what you want to do with it. If you want to shoot like ducks and geese and that kind of thing, you want a little bit of a nicer semi-automatic shotgun to do it for a really good price? Hell yeah, hell yeah. I think like a lot of the Turkish shotguns are like in Canada here, we refer to them as Turk shit shotguns because they're pretty crappy. Quality control isn't that good. This one's good. Huglu makes a couple of shotguns that are pretty decent. And the fact that CZ is taking these and selling them as the 1012s means that they must think that the quality is pretty good as well. So yeah, it's a decent shotgun, comes with a lot of accessories. If you want something that comes with like some flexibility to it in terms of butt pads, in terms of chokes, in terms of cast and adjustments to the shotgun to fit it to yourself, it's pretty decent for that. And I would say it's a hell of a deal if you can get a good price on it. Anyways, thanks for watching.